Good morning and welcome to the Business Skill Lab. That is an opportunity of learning in the framework of Nishati project. I'm Katyusha
Hello,
Chitri.
Katushi.
Hello, Nuria. So you know me, but I just introduce myself to the others. My name is Katyusha Chitri. I work with the Sapienza University of Rome in Italy, that is the coordinator of Nishati project. And Nishati project aims at provide capability competencies to teaching staff and students of three countries in Africa, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania, in three main topics. The water management, the eco-agriculture, and renewable energy and renewable technologies. Today and for 5 days, we will meet all together with you. So providing you lessons on how to make business on these three main topics of our project. We will be supported also, no, so the training session will be delivered by two companies, a partner of Nishati, Studio Santi, and today we have Benedetta Giugliano, welcome, and also Hyderabad. Studio Santi, but Benedetta, I will give you the floor, so the opportunity also to introduce you at the company. But in general, no, just few information. Studio Santi work in the energy field, in solar plants and energy management and efficiency. And Studio Santi's focus is business in water management and micro and mini turbines. Okay, concerning the training session of today and the other days, just few information. Your questions are really, really welcome, but please, probably the speaker, the professor will give you 10 minutes for questions. So after first part of training. So please, if you want, chat your questions. So you can write on chat your questions, and then the teacher will give you the opportunity to unmute your microphone, or the teacher will read directly the question in the chat. Concerning the teaching material, the teaching note, we will provide you all the teaching training materials, but at the end of the 5 days, only for the people who will fill an evaluation form online, we will share with you. Why this decision? Because Nishat is an European project. And as a European project, the European Commission has for an evaluation of impact of our activity. Evaluation of impact means ask the participants of our activity their opinion. So at the end of this training session, we will ask you for your opinion about the topics, about the impact on your career, on your studies. So your opinion will be very, very important for us. So according with the request of the European Commission and our needs, we will invite you to fill this form online, a really 10 minutes questionnaire, and the participant will receive the training material. I think it's all. We will share with you also the videos of the lessons at the end. I don't want to take more time, so please, Benedetta, again, thank you for your availability for this training. And I want to give you the floor, so you will have the opportunity to introduce your company and yourself. So thank you very much, and have a good lesson.
Thank you, Kat. Can you confirm you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Perfect. Hi everyone. As Katyusha was saying, I am one of the three actually, speaker and trainer of this workshop that will last this week. So welcome everyone to this Business Skill Lab of the Nishati program. My name is Benedetta and I am a business developer at Studio Santi. Studio Santi is an engineering and energy consultancy firm based in Italy and in Tanzania. Um, Over the course of this week, altogether, with me and with my colleague that you're going to meet tomorrow and on Friday, um, we will take you through the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, business models, project development, grounded in the real context of emerging economies, and specifically in the energy and infrastructure sectors. My colleague Flavio from Hyderabad, that will take the floor tomorrow, will guide you through more the infrastructure and energy sectors from an entrepreneur perspective, while my role is to give you the basics and the fundamentals of what it means to do and make and being an entrepreneur in emerging economies. Um, so together we will go through the different stages, different steps. I'll give you some food for thoughts, and we can also discuss together what your ideas are. So my part will be divided, as you can see in this slide, in two modules. So I will guide module one and module three. Both modules are divided in two parts. So at the end of every part, I will give you a couple of questions that can also serve as a potential interaction between you and me, and also to test and to see what your thoughts are, what your ideas are, if there's any questions about around what I said. Um, so. Um, I'm gonna ask you just to check that you all are muted, so I'm not interrupted. And you can type any question you want in the chat, so I can read it after the first module. But I also will give you the chance to interact with me at the end of the module, so you can unmute yourself when this first part is over. Let me just check that everyone is admitted. I see a lot of new people joining. Okay. Just giving your colleagues some more time to join. Okay. Okay, I will start, and hopefully Katyusha can help me admitting all the others that are joining. Everyone, please mute yourself because I hear a lot of noise now. So just make sure your microphone is muted, and then we'll all be able to chat at the end of the module.
Benedetta, you are mute. Can I mute again?
Okay.
Okay,
Can
good.
can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Are there many other people joining? Should we wait a few seconds so we can unmute and
I
mute
think you
everyone,
can, Benedetta, I
or I
think you
can?
can start. I will manage the access, don't worry.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's start with this first part of the first module. So, entrepreneurship in emerging markets. Um, This first module is about the understanding, the environment that you all will be working in as potential entrepreneurs. So just imagine yourself wherever you live now, and before you build anything, before you create an enterprise, before you have an idea and want to see if this idea can really be implemented in the market, you need something that I call read the terrain, as the title of this slide. What does this mean? Um, Let me start with a question. So, think of something very simple that you need in your everyday life: clean water, internet access, a way to pay for something remotely, so not live. And thinking of that, ask yourself, what happens when the system that should deliver that doesn't exist or doesn't work? I'm sure you all can think of a lot of examples like that. And when you think of what doesn't work, that should provide this basic need, that gap is exactly the core of entrepreneurship and is what today's module is about. Okay. I want to start with a story that when I was a student and I was studying, I remember my professor telling me this story, and this got stuck into my head. So I really want to share it with you, and I hope this will make you think. This story, in my view, is a story that captures in a single image what entrepreneurship in emerging markets is really about. So this is called the ice pack story, and it happens in India. Some years ago, a guy that was a management researcher was in Chennai, in this town in India, and he needed an ice pack. So he needed something to keep a family member's medication cool. An ice pack is a completely ordinary object. I think everyone agrees. So something you would find at a pharmacy in Nairobi, in Kampala, in Kigali, in 5 minutes. What this guy did was spending hours to find this in Chennai, where it was. He called pharmacies, hospitals, he called staff from hotels nearby, and he couldn't find anyone to provide this cooling ice pack for a family member that got hurt. So what he did after all of this struggle that he was going into, he calculated the total time that he and everyone in his situation spent searching for the object. So he took this number and he multiplied this number by the cost of the time. And then he realized that he and all the people like him spend 20 times the value of the ice pack itself. So this was a very simple calculation, and he made it because he really wanted to share and show all the other people that were living in India at the time how a thing that should be super easy was not only difficult, but was costing everybody 20 times more the money that they would have spent if the object was available next to them and they would be able to buy it. So now take this very simple story and imagine the same struggle for something else, for electricity, for getting a land permit or a land title, for getting a qualified technician to do a very simple job that you all know that in the everyday life would be really simple to do. So that difficulty. So imagine only the difficulty that you take to get to the job you want to do or to get to buying the ice pack. That disproportionate cost of doing something very simple is what entrepreneurship in emerging markets is about. And this concept that capture this difficulty is a thing that is called institutional voids. What is an institutional void? So based on what we just said, an institutional void is a gap in the market infrastructure that prevents buyers and sellers from finding each other and completing transactions efficiently. So this definition, try to stick this definition in your mind, because This is really what any person that want to become an entrepreneur, that want to open a business in any place, wherever you guys are now, needs to understand. So institutional void, a void, something that is missing. So in mature economies, think of North America, think of a lot of countries in Europe, there are invisible infrastructure. So there is a layer of infrastructure that nobody can really see or touch, but that exists and sits behind every transaction that happen in the market. So as you can see from this slide, I listed five of these invisible infrastructure that every business person in mature economies, in well-functioning economies, has at their disposal. For example, regulatory frameworks, the second point in the slide. Regulatory frameworks are the things that ensure that both parties, so what we said in the definition, buyers and sellers, that ensure both of them that they can have a fair transaction and that can protect both of them. And this is not a stupid thing if you think about it. Like having a regulatory frameworks that if you want to sell a thing, you don't even think about, but you have it already in the market. This helps the seller and the buyer both a lot in every transaction. Another example, professional certification bodies. So knowing and having an easy connection with a body that can get you a certificate. For example, a certificate that your business needs to have in order to comply to the law and to sell an object. All of this, and we could go ahead to infinitely on this list. But if you look at these 5 bullet points, all of this infrastructure that I call it invisible because when you do business, you don't really see it. You see it only when you need it. So when you go to look for it, all of these are present in functioning economies, well-functioning economies, or like mature, we can call them mature. But when these are absent, when these are weak or dysfunctional, that is a void. So it is worth noting that voids are not simply empty spaces. Voids are often zones of misalignment, where informal systems and community-based arrangements exist but do not connect effectively with each other, with formal market structures. And in my opinion and in my experience, I worked for the past 8 years in Sub-Saharan Africa, and I have seen in my job, I was able to assist many enterprises and single entrepreneurs. And I could witness that in many African contexts, this distinction that we just said really matters because the informal institutions are already there, and the entrepreneurial task is often to bridge them to the formal system, not to build them from scratch. So let's not think that doing business in Africa or opening a company in Africa is hard because this invisible infrastructure do not exist. Sometimes, most of the times, these exist as in well-functioning economies, as in the northern part of the US. But what is difficult and what is up to every entrepreneur in Africa is to create bridges in between these infrastructures. And then now in the next slides, we will see how and what this really means. There is a key insight. What we said before is we need a void to have a business idea and to put this business idea at the service of the market. So let's bear in mind that a void is not a problem, but is an opportunity. Can be both and starts as a problem, but our job and your job as future entrepreneurs is to transform this void from a problem to an opportunity. And remember that every missing institution is a space where a smart entrepreneur can intervene with a smart solution and make money. So this is like the wide, big concept that we need to bear in our mind in the next like 2 modules that I will teach you. So look at this slide. Energy access in rural East Africa. Okay. I wanted to bring the concept that I just talked about, so the concept of institutional voids and missing infrastructure, closer to home. So think about energy access in the rural parts of the countries where you guys live. So in rural Tanzania, rural Rwanda, rural Uganda, or also of countries you visited or countries where your family live. In most of these parts, the national grid exists, in most of these countries at least. But we know that the national grid reaches, let's say, 40, 50% of the population, sometimes much less, sometimes a bit more. But we know that the more rural you go, the less the grid reaches villages. So, in this context, what are the institutional voids at play? And remember, void are what's missing, but also the opportunities. So look at this slide. We have an information void. Households cannot compare quality or tell genuine from counterfeit. Very true. This happens probably most of the villages in rural East and Southern Africa. Or we have, for example, technical void, number 3. How hard it is most of the times to find local certified technicians to install or maintain a very simple mini grid installment. Or contracting void. It happens a lot of time that there is no reliable way to enforce payment. So a business person that wants to make business and to open a business in the energy access always has this question in their mind that is like, what if they don't pay me? Which kind of contract can I put in place with this rural part, with this village or with this community to make sure that if they don't pay me, I can request my payment, I can enforce it. This is important. Otherwise, like no business-minded person would ever go to a place and open a business. So all of this, these 5, but there are many more, but these 5, I think, are maybe like a good starting point for you to think about and to think of what a void really is in rural East Africa in the energy access. Regulatory void, product standards. Do we have in this specific place where we want to open a company a way to trust products? Most of the times, no. Most of the times, there's nothing. There's no laws. There's no regulatory helps that can assist an entrepreneur. So each of these void, each one of these is missing, is something that is missing sometimes, most of the times. But remember, there is a business opportunity. And we need to learn how to see this business opportunity behind something that only seems a struggle. Okay. Now we are in the part where we try to recognize practically, like a practical tool, how to recognize these institutional voids in our day-to-day life. A systematic way to scan for institutional voids is to organize economic activity into 3 primary markets, as you can see from this slide, and suggest we look for voids in each one. We have first product and service markets. Look at these questions. I put these questions just to make you immediately go into what this kind of market is, provides, and how we can connect the practical situation we are in to one of these 3 markets. So let's take product and service. Product and service market. Can buyers find sellers? This is a question we always need to ask ourselves. We have a product. We think, oh, this is a brilliant idea. I can sell this product and make money. Good. Ask these questions before. Is there reliable information about the quality of your product? Are standards enforced? Are standards even there? What is this product? What are the regulations around it? An example can be, can a rural customer know if a solar panel is genuine? And from this example, you can develop a whole list of voids in a specific market. Labor markets. Questions. Can employers find skilled workers? Is there a certification system? Is training accessible? And an example can be, is there a pool of certified solar technicians in the region? This question in the labor markets can bring you to identify a struggle and identify a really brilliant business opportunity. Third one, capital markets. Can entrepreneurs access finance? This is one of the questions that in any capital market you have to ask. Do banks lend to small businesses or rural customers? Regulation, remember, the voids we saw before, regulation, like, okay, I could sell this financial product, but is there a regulation? Maybe I couldn't. Is there insurance? And the example could be, can a mini grid developer access project finance? Can a household get a pay-go or pay-as-you-go loan? Take maybe some seconds to look at these three and start thinking of how you could identify voids in these three markets. And while you do that, I also listed here 4 questions that can guide you to ask yourself of any market. Who are the potential buyers and sellers? And why aren't they already transacting? What information is missing that would allow them to find each other? What enforcement mechanisms are absent that would allow them to trust each other? What intermediary, if this intermediary existed, would unlock that transaction? Think of, for example, a product or a service that you use at home or in your community. Any. Apply these 4 questions. When you apply these 4 questions, which kind of void, institutional void, can you identify? Is there one? There are many. These are questions that when you will go through your ideas and you have this slide in front of you, I'm sure will be able to help you to, think about the business idea you might have. Or even you still don't have a business idea, but you know that there is a system, a product, a service, an action that you can implement in your community. Use these 4 questions to think around it and to brainstorm around this idea. Then, in this slide, I want you to present 3, let's say, practical cases, practical examples. We can call them 3 voids, connecting to what we were discussing before. We have in here we have 3 voids and 3 responses to these voids. These voids are distributed in three actual cases. The first is in India, to show the universality of a void that was solved by a very smart entrepreneur. The second one is Africa. Probably most of you know what M-Pesa is, and we'll go through it, we'll go in it. And then the third is a void that I deliberately left open, meaning that there is no solution. It remains unsolved, let's say. And it could be useful for you to think of how you could solve it. And I put these three in a slightly more and more complex in terms of missing infrastructures, as we were saying before. So let's start from the first. But as you can see from this, we have a first case that deals with a transport void. And we will see an entrepreneur that managed to see this void in this market, to recognize it, to see the business opportunity. So not only the struggle, but the opportunity. And he managed to fill. Sorry, okay. I saw that you muted. Thank you. He managed to. Guys, please mute yourself. He managed to fill the void with a model that is commercially viable and socially inclusive. Let's go to it. Okay, so this case is called Dial 1298 ambulance, and the entrepreneur is called Shafi Mater. This case is set in India, and it will show you that institutional voids are a universal phenomenon. It's not an African phenomenon. It doesn't happen only in African economies. And this story, I really like it because I think it has a very nice and an important human side, not only a business opportunity. So our case comes from Mumbai, India. And one of the most important things to understand is that it was 2005, so very recent times. And we have this entrepreneur named Shafi Mater, based in Mumbai, that asked himself one question. What happens when someone has a medical emergency in Mumbai, in my city? He was going around, he was a surgeon, and this question was a very struggling question for him because he was seeing that when people in Mumbai had a medical emergency, chaos was happening. The answer was nothing useful. Nothing useful happens in this city when someone has a medical emergency. Mumbai in 2005 had ambulance services, technically. They were there, but they were rudimentary, poorly equipped, unable to navigate the city's notorious traffic. Think about what an Indian street looks like. It's dense, full of people, super chaotic, a lot of cars, motorbikes, a little bit maybe like a capital city in one of your countries, but probably with even more people. So imagine these super chaotic streets, no real traffic rules, ambulance going around. And also bear in mind that, and this is an interesting insight because every country has a different culture around ambulances, but in India, there is no culture of moving when an ambulance run on the streets because no one was, at least until Shafi Mater asked himself this question, no Indian in Mumbai had been trained to move and step on the side of the road when an ambulance was running on the street, because obviously when an ambulance carries a sick patient, what you can do if you're driving a car is to pull on the side. But there was no culture, and also Indian streets were not meant to help to facilitate this movement. So Shafi Mater sees that a critically ill person faced in Mumbai a combined set of voids. First, no reliable transport to get this person to a hospital very quickly. Second void, there was no information system to know which hospital could treat their specific condition. So sometimes the ambulance was just running around the city, not knowing where to bring the patient, and the patient would just die or get worse. Third void that he saw, there was no coordination mechanism between ambulance, hospital, and also the patient's family. So a lot of times the ambulance would get a sick patient, but there was no way to communicate to their family what happened to them and where they would be brought, which hospital, which clinic. So that's why Shafi decided to create this little business that he called Dial 1298. That was exactly the number that you were supposed to dial for this specific ambulance service that he created. He acquired properly equipped ambulances, built a dispatch and monitoring center. He trained crews, so employees, to clinical standards with help from the London Ambulance Service and New York Presbyterian. So in this way, Shafi managed to get employees that were driving ambulances that were trained by countries where the culture was, you should drive this way. You should ask people to step on the side of the road to let them pass. Like all things that if you go to London, it happens daily, but not in Mumbai. So Shafi was smart enough to understand that he didn't only need smart employees, because sometimes it's not enough. Like you might have many smart friends, but who tells you that these friends that you can hire are good for the job you want them to do? You need to train them. And Shafi knew it. So Shafi was like, okay, I'm gonna pay trainings, the best trainings for these people, because I want the best people to drive my ambulances. The detail I find most interesting about this story and most relevant to you as future business people is that is his pricing model. Okay, so Shafi knew that charging a flat fee, so same cost for everyone, would exclude the majority of Mumbai's population. So what did he do? He introduced different pricing. Differential pricing is called. So patients going to private hospitals paid full price, because if a patient decides to go to private hospitals, they can pay for it. So he made them pay for it. Patients going to public hospitals were fully subsidized. Victims of road accidents and mass casualties received the service for free. Shafi filled the transportation void in the ambulance system in Mumbai by designing a business model that was at the same time commercially viable and socially inclusive. This was amazing. And the combination that defines a truly sustainable entrepreneurial intervention is exactly that. And he did it. So look at the bottom of the slide. Commercially viable, meaning that he was making money, because if you don't make money, it's not a business. So commercially viable and socially inclusive. He wasn't charging the same amount of money because first, it's not fair. But leave on the side the human aspect. It's not even about being fair. It is about, if I charge the same fee to let's say the owner of a supermarket chain and to a technician, it's not going to work, because the technician that maybe has been working, let's say, for 3 years, how can he pay, or how can they pay the same amount as a rich entrepreneur that owns already 6 supermarkets. It makes no sense. And he knew it. So he didn't even start trying it out. He was like, I'm going to charge immediately different fees. And then it came a test, like a test that happened because, life sometimes happens and we cannot control events in our life. So he would have never wished for it. But in November 2008, there was a bad armed attack in the Taj Mahal Hotel in India and other several sites in Mumbai. The city was in total chaos. A lot of people were injured. A lot of people were dying. It was insane. And imagine the state's emergency services, how overwhelmed and unprepared they were. So in that very sad occasion, Shafi's ambulances were the ones that showed up at every site. So I think the story is really interesting and it has a lot of human aspects, emergency aspects, business aspects. But I think we have a key lesson, very important here, that the most important institutional voids, sometimes, most of the times, are the ones that do not sound brilliant or super smart, are the most basic ones. When Shafi started saying, hey, I want to create a business around private ambulances, a lot of people looked at him and said, why? Why would you do it? Or the government already has private ambulances, or hospitals already have their vehicle services. Shafi knew that getting a sick person to a hospital in Mumbai was a struggle because he was seeing it. He saw the void. And he had a simple, not brilliant, a simple idea that proved him that he was right and saved a lot of lives. This is the entrepreneurial logic that I would like all of you guys to think about when you see yourself or when you want to picture yourself as an entrepreneur. This is exactly what you should aim to. Let me admit other people. Okay. Now, we saw before we have 3 cases. Second case, the case of M-Pesa. We are in Kenya, again, closer to home, transitioning from India to Africa, from physical infrastructure to financial infrastructure, and to probably something that you've heard about or you've used. And to avoid that many of you will know firsthand. In 2007, Safaricom launched M-Pesa in Kenya. At that time, less than 20% of the population of Kenya held a bank account. So the institutional void was stark. The formal financial system simply did not reach the majority of the population. Easy. Everybody could see it. People transacted mostly entirely in cash. And that was obviously insecure, untraceable, uncomfortable, physically dangerous to move around. Sending money to a family member in another region meant handing cash to someone on a bus or carrying a huge amount of cash in your bag while traveling for many hours. Like it was not comfortable at all. The banks had no intention of solving this problem. Extending branch banking to rural Kenya was economically unviable at the scale needed, and still is. So banks were like, yeah, we see the struggle, we see the issue, but what can we do? There's nothing we can do to solve it. Cool. This is where smart entrepreneurs went in, saw the void, and said, we can fill it. We can do something. This is how M-Pesa was started. M-Pesa entrepreneurs asked each other themselves the same question our framework asks. So one of the questions we were saying before, who are the buyers and sellers in this financial market? And why cannot they transact? And which was the answer? The answer was everyone is a potential buyer and seller of financial services. Why? Because everyone can sell and everyone can buy. Easy. What is missing? What was missing is a trusted, accessible intermediary. M-Pesa built that intermediary out of two things that were already everywhere. So they didn't invent anything. Mobile phones, local shopkeepers. The phone became the bank account. The shopkeeper became the branch. So there was no new physical infrastructure required or built. There was just a new layer of institutional logic on top of what already existed. This was brilliant. Today, M-Pesa serves over 50 million users across Africa. But what I want you to notice is what happened next, okay? Because M-Pesa didn't just solve one void. M-Pesa created the infrastructure that allowed others to fill adjacent voids. What do I mean by that? Think of pay-as-you-go solar. Think of agricultural microinsurance. Think of school fee payments, digital credit scoring. M-Pesa created the infrastructure that was missing. You remember when at the beginning of the presentation I told you sometimes in Africa, in emerging markets, the infrastructure is there, but we need to build bridges. This is exactly what M-Pesa did. They built a bridge between factors that were already in the market. They didn't make up anything. When you fill a void well, properly, you solve a problem, yes. You also build a platform on which other entrepreneurs can stand. So this last sentence of this slide, keep this in your mind every time that you guys have a business idea, because this is not only about yourself. So ask yourself the question, what can I build in this market that can help others like me to solve their problems, not only as buyers and sellers, but also as entrepreneurs? How can I help my friends that want to build businesses as well in the same market? Can I build a bridge that everybody can cross? If the answer is yes, you're on the right path. You're building something that is going to be big. Okay. Now, third one. We're almost at the end of the first module. Pay attention to this third one. We're even closer to home now. And we are in a void that deliberately is unresolved. The mini grid problem. I called it the mini grid problem. In Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, you all know what a mini grid is, no? It's a small decentralized power system serving a village or a cluster of businesses. Mini grids are widely recognized as one of the most promising solutions for rural electrification. This is pretty standard. Technology is proven, is easy, the need is real. In many locations, the economics work. So why deployment is so slow? Why deployment of mini grids in rural Africa is so much slower than it should be? because the path between a developer with a working mini grid and the village that needs electricity is blocked by a cluster of institutional voids. So again, these voids that haven't been solved, not fully or sometimes not completely. Look at these four voids that I described in here. Look at the regulatory void, for example. Licensing a mini grid can take years in some countries. The regulatory framework is incomplete, inconsistent, inconsistently applied, and keeps changing. So an investor committing capital today doesn't know what tariff they will be permitted to charge in 5 years. Like, how could they do it? How would we expect an entrepreneur that wants to run a mini grid to really do it if they have no idea in the tariff that they can put in their business model? There's no way. This is a void. That uncertainty is often enough to kill a business, not even kill a business, to kill a project before even it becomes an idea of business. Or look at the financial void, financing void. Most mini grids projects are too small for large development finance institutions and too unfamiliar, too risky for local commercial banks. There is a missing middle in the financing landscape that has not been breached, and this is clear. Another void that I think is super important in the mini grid sector is the trust void. Communities have been promised electricity many times. And how many times have they been disappointed? Thousands of times. Trust is, in any external actor, government, NGO, private developers, is very low. So community don't trust anybody that wants to install a mini grid because they know it's not going to work. And it's true. Most of them, in the long run, are not working. So earning it takes time that a financially stretched developer may not have. But we need to solve this void because communities need to start trusting these systems. And you can see and you can explore all of these voids and think of your experience if you guys have worked in a mini grid business before. Have you experienced one of these voids, or also have you identified another one that maybe I didn't even write in here? Probably. An important and funny thing to notice here is that, as I said before, this void remains open. So I don't have yet, but I'm super happy to hear your experience, if you have an experience, on someone that solved this void, one of these voids, and brought the mini grid to a level as Shafi with the ambulances. A funny thing to notice here is that none of these voids in the mini grid problem is technical or primarily technical. Why? Because the engineers can build the mini grid. I know that if I want to open a mini grid business in northern Rwanda, I'm going to find very talented engineers that know how to build it. The problem is everything around it. But think about it. We have the skills. Remember Shafi, the example of Shafi before. He had to train the people to drive the ambulances. We don't have to train our engineers in Rwanda. How do we make the mini grid a real business example? How do we solve the other voids? This remains an open question, and I'm very happy if you guys tonight, tomorrow, next week at home, maybe keep thinking about it. And who knows, maybe you develop an idea or you identify in one of these voids something that no one really acted on. That would be interesting to see. Okay, we're at the end of this first part of the module, and I would like you to answer to two questions. Scan this QR code now on your phones or you can go to slido.com on your web page and type in this code. Remember that there is, oh, sorry, let me go back. Give me 1 second. Okay. Remember that there is no right or wrong answer. This is just, I think, a fun way for you, for all of us, to test what we've been discussing until now. So my question is, picture a private company, private business, entirely private. Obviously, we know that if it's a business, there is voids. Which void you think is the most easy to be solved alone? Meaning that we have a private entrepreneur, there are voids, these voids, what can they solve alone without the help of any other external person or external company or external help? I'll give you some seconds to reply. Think about it and just select it. Let's see what comes out. Oh, that's very interesting, all these replies. While you guys keep replying, does some of you wanna tell me why they replied technical? Why is that? Because I completely agree, but I would like just one of you to unmute yourself and say like, why do you think that a private business can solve alone the technical void?
Hello, Miss Benedetta.
Hello.
Yes, it's Mariam from Tanzania, and I want to respond to the question asked. I think when we speak of technical voids, these are internal bases on the organization. Speaking of regulatory, probably financing information, sometimes it might be somehow difficult to deal with them rather than technicalities that are inside the organization. Thank you.
I love it. And I completely agree. I completely agree. So it's really important what you just said, because like I was, for example, dealing with a client a few months ago, and they are a mine in Tanzania. And we, as consulting company, noticed that there were some issues in your production of gold. And we analyzed the issues, and we saw that the issues were that technically some of them didn't know what to do in one of the steps of what they had to do, let's say the chain of the production of gold. And this void was fully solved by the company because what they did was to train them better. And training them better make them getting more money. So the business was, let's say, safe. So I like that a lot of you put technical, reply technical. And I also like the information. If any of you wants to unmute yourself and just comment on any of the remaining one, I would be really happy to hear about it and interact. Only if you guys feel comfortable. Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. My name is Enoch, and I join you from Yaounde, Rwanda. So, basically, for my own input, looking at financial to be the easiest vote because as a private company is a clear indication that you know the standpoint of your financial strength before going into business. So for the orders of regulatory contracting information, those things I believe that they cannot be handled by yourself, but other parties must get involved. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really interesting point of view and very spot on. Thank you so much, Anna. Before going to the next, I would like to know just one other thing because I'm really curious. And I'm very debated on this part. So it's not it's not a critique because I agree, but I also want to know why regulatory? Because I see that very few picked regulatory. And of course, I can imagine is because like it's easy, no? A private company cannot write laws. So if we have laws in the country that are poorly written or are absent, what can we do? But what do you think? What do all of you guys think that a private company can do about the regulatory void? What could I do as a private entrepreneur, as a private businessman, businesswoman? What is in my power to do regarding the regulation void? If you want to answer and unmute yourself, or you can also put it in the chat. I'm very curious to know your take on that.
Okay. I have a simple contribution, and this is
Please.
John. I'm John Mariancha from Uganda. About regulation, what I believe that the only thing a company can do is to propose regulations to the government bodies that at the end of the day come up with the frameworks on how different companies will operate. But of course, we cannot put them into action as a private company. So it's regulation. Maybe another thing would be the internal regulation of a company. We can develop internal regulations on how our systems are going to work from within. And I think that's the end, or the far we can go. Thank you.
That's very smart, and thank you for saying that because I also have another experience of my previous years in my career. So I was working in a company in Tanzania, and I was supposed to open the branch of this company. And I'm not Tanzanian, obviously. It was my first time living and working in Tanzania. And my job was to open this company from scratch, like a foreign company. And this company had a very specific business model. There was a Nigerian business model. So imagine my struggle, and this is where I saw exactly what John just said. I was dealing with a business that was built in Nigeria, and that the owners of this business was sure that exactly the way it was, it could work in Tanzania. Then I looked at the regulation market in Tanzania, and I noticed that we had to change significantly the business model because in Tanzania, 2 out of 4 products that they wanted to sell were not allowed. Imagine if I didn't check these regulations, and imagine if I didn't hire a very smart and skilled Tanzanian lawyer that helped me in that, I would have lost money. I would have lost a lot of money. So this is very, very important, and thank you for the insight and the reply on the regulatory void. Now let me go. Okay, this is just like our last question. Okay, my last question that I want to ask you. Then we'll do on a little break, and then we'll go on the second part of the module. In one word, what do you think is the real reason rural households still don't have solar. Very true. Very expensive to purchase and maintain. Very true. Mindsets. There's a lot around that. It's very interesting. Maintenance. I'm reading maintenance, and yes, I agree. I agree. And maintenance can be connected to also the technical void we were seeing before. Easy to fix. Poor quality of solar. I see a lot of cost. The cost is dominating, huh? And yeah, for sure. Policies, affordability, access. Yeah, thank you guys for typing a lot. It's really, really useful for me to read this. I think that the two that are dominating are the cost, of course, like it's expensive. So we need to work on the business model. And seeing all of this, I'm pretty sure that there is some interesting new entrepreneur in this audience. So I want to see your business because I want to talk about your business in the next workshop that I will have, huh? For sure, there are many, many interesting ideas here. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Thank you, guys. Let's keep this in mind. I think we will have another chance also to talk about all of this. But look at this, like, let's frame this. We have cost, we have poor quality, and so I think we have technical, and under technical, we can link problem on the equipment um, and skills and costs and mindset. For me, these three are leading it. What I don't see is corruption. That I think, at least in my experience, I don't know what you guys think, in my experience, it's still an issue that needs to be solved. So in the following business that are gonna pop up in Rwanda, in Uganda, in Tanzania, you guys need to come up with ideas that are corruption free. Because this, I think, could really bring down the cost. How? I don't know. I don't have the solution, but I'm sure some of you has, because these are really smart insights. Okay. Okay. Let me go to the next, and then we can definitely also come back at the end of this to all of these really cool insights that you're giving me. But let me close and give you some minutes of break with this question. So, what can an entrepreneur do? We have here 6 strategic responses to an institutional void. This is, in a nutshell, what we've been talking about. Take a model that works elsewhere, redesign it. And this is the replicate and adapt. Collaborate. Partnerships. Guys, partnership is important. We are never alone. And this is also a very important lesson that living in Africa taught me. You need to collaborate with your neighbors, with your family, with your business partners, also with your competitors. Navigate around, accept the void as a constraint, and design the model to function. Fill the void directly, become the missing institution, build the certification body if it's missing, build the information platform, build the training program, build the rating agency. Remember, in India, nobody was trained to drive the ambulances. They did it. You can do it. We can all do it. Exit or wait. Sometimes the market is not ready. So recognize when to move on. Is not a failure. If you see, no, this is not a struggle, this is a proper obstacle that I cannot solve alone, you're not failing. It means you either wait or you exit. And exiting is fine. It's fine. You do it again. You start from scratch. This is a form of strategic intelligence, exiting, not being too stubborn. Last one, ecosystem platform. Join or build an ecosystem platform. So sometimes the most effective move is not to solve a void alone, but to become part of a collective infrastructure that addresses multiple voids at the same time. Innovation hubs, I listed here, InnoHub, iHub in Nairobi, InnoHub is in Accra. They have shown that shared platforms providing access to capital networks, training, can lower dramatically the cost for individual entrepreneurs of navigating an institutional void environment. Rather than every startup rebuilding the same bridges independently, an ecosystem platform builds them once for many. Remember, building the bridge to allow all of the others to cross it. If you're building this bridge only for yourself, it's not going to be a huge success. Might work, but it's going to collapse. So the choice between these many options you have depends on something that I like to define contextual intelligence. So being smart can be applied to any context. You can be a smart person at your job, but maybe not in your relationship. In being an entrepreneur, you need to be a contextual smart person. What does it mean? It means that you need to understand the context you're operating in. You don't need to dream too big. You need to look at what you have, look at where you can go, and build an easy bridge. It's something you can learn by doing. If you build a business and you fail, you're learning it. Learning how to be an entrepreneur and how to improve your contextual intelligence doesn't mean that you need to be successful immediately, but it means that you are learning to build the bridge. So stay focused and start developing the skills that help you understanding when a dream is too big or when a dream is actually actuable. You can do it. You can build it. These are the three things to carry from this first part of the module. This is what I would like you to reflect on. Institutional voids are the defining structural feature of entrepreneurship in emerging markets. They are not exceptions. They are the environment. And we said before, they are the opportunity. Every void is a problem and is an opportunity. The diagnostic framework is practical and portable. Ask who can transact, why, what information am I missing, what intermediary am I missing? You can apply this to any sector, any project, and any country. So these are the things that I would like you to carry. And then I'm gonna give you a few minutes. So I'll see you. Yeah? I thought someone was speaking. Now I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. So in Italy now is 4:20. So 4:25, I'll see you back. Thank you guys. See you in a bit, in 5 minutes.
Yeah, man, is it interesting? How boring?
Welcome back. I hope you guys are back from the break. Let me keep admitting some of you that left. I don't know why you see my screen with these two scratches on top, but I promise when I when I will upload the material, you won't see it.
No, I invite some participants, no right on the screen, please.
But okay. So it was not me.
Absolutely.
Okay,
We have
perfect.
some participants
Doesn't matter.
who is
Doesn't matter.
blocking with your presentation. Please
Doesn't matter.
join.
Good. So the most important thing is that it was not me. You guys can can write on it. Okay. So welcome back. Let's go to the last part. That is called Achieving Impact at Scale. This is also another very important lesson that I learned in my career and also in my studies, and I'm really happy to share it with you because I think it also gives you a bit of food for thought and potential debates. So there is a hard truth that every business person, every entrepreneur, future entrepreneur needs to face. This truth separates entrepreneurs who make it, who achieve it, who really launch their idea, from those who don't. A beautiful solution that reaches 200 people is not a business. Okay. It could be a pilot project. It could be a very smart idea. It could be a very good NGO program. It's not yet a business. And it will not change the energy landscape of Rwanda or Tanzania. It will not change the way patients are transported in India if it reaches only to 200 people. I said 200 because I think that is a fair number, especially in countries where you guys are from, where population is really increasing. So any business idea you have, you need to think a little bit bigger than your immediate community. Scale, so scaling an idea, is not like a bonus feature. It's not something, oh, amazing, you scaled it. You need to scale. If you don't scale, you don't run a business. So that's why I highlighted that scale is the point, especially in the context of emerging markets where problems are big and we don't have a lot of resources to face these problems. So this module, this last part of our first module, is about understanding how impact at scale actually works, and what separates entrepreneurs whose idea make money from the ones that get stuck. I'm gonna go with another story for you. Still
Benedetta.
same from India.
Benedetta, sorry, if the line disturbs you, you can stop and start again the presentation and they disappear.
But
Try to do it.
It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me. It bothers you.
It's just for you. So if you stop and start the presentation, the lines should disappear.
Okay, let's see. Share. Okay. Do you see it?
Perfectly.
Yay. Good. Okay, so another story for you. This story is called the Narayana story and is again from India. This case particularly illustrates the principle of this part of the module. We are in Bangalore now. We have a cardiac surgeon whose name is Devi Shetty that built a hospital with a specific goal. He wanted to perform world-class open heart surgery for patients who could not afford it. So that was his big goal. He traveled all around and he could see that in the United States, a standard coronary bypass surgery was costing between 60 and 100K. Dr. Shetty wanted to do it in India for under 2,000, 2K, with outcomes as good as the best hospital in the United States, best hospital in the world. That was his big dream. And I told you before, big dream, can we really do it or is only a dream? For Dr. Shetty, it was a perfectly good business model that could solve a huge issue. And it was also his big dream. All of the three. How? How did he do it? What and how? Two mechanisms working together. This is what he applied. First, scale drives down cost. When you perform the same procedure, any procedure, now we're talking about a specific surgery on open heart. Think of any procedure. When you perform the exact same thousands of times, the fixed cost gets spread across a huge number of patients or of consumers, whatever you are performing. In this case, patients. The cost per unit falls dramatically if you perform the same thing over and over and over. And there is also a second effect of this. Repetition builds mastery. Dr. Shetty, his surgeons, his equipe, his employees performed so many operations that they became among the best in the world at that specific procedure. In this case, scale creates quality and efficiency, both. And he knew it. So he was very smart because he thought about it. And he kept it simple. One surgery with one type of equipment over and over and over. The second that you're seeing in this slide is the second mechanism that he implemented was differential pricing enables access. Patients were asked a simple question. And remember what we were saying about the other Indian case before. How much can patients pay for the ambulance? Dr. Shetty did exactly the same. He asked, or obviously he couldn't ask there, but he knew. So he asked for documents prior to the surgery that could prove how much could the patients pay. Like actually, like really. Some paid the full price because they could. Some paid below cost. Some paid zero. Those who paid more subsidized those who couldn't pay at all. The system remained financially viable because enough paying patients came through to cover the costs of those who didn't. And this is amazing. So two things I want you to hold on to from this story. One, and we said we are talking about scale in this part of the module. So scale did not happen automatically. Even with millions of patients in India needing cardiac care, Shetty had to go out and build the scale through outreach buses, telemedicine, microinsurance schemes, community education. The demand existed, is true, but he built the bridge. And what were you saying when I was asking you, give me the voids of why there's still no electricity, why there's still no mini grids implemented? You told me cost. You told me skills. And this is exactly what Shetty did. It took time. It took a lot of time for him. He saw the demand. He saw the urgency, but he built it. And also he started communicating, education, telling patients to get tested, to understand if they could get surgery before dying, if they could go into his hospital and be cured because they could afford it, thanks to its business model. The innovation that Shetty put in place was not medical. He didn't invent anything. He was performing the same surgery that any cardiac surgeon performs everywhere in the world. And Shetty was already a great surgeon. The innovation was the business model. That is the distinction that this story makes, and also that this module of today, of what I'm telling you today, is about. Idea and business model. Let's pay attention to this key distinction. So, an innovative idea, what is it? Is a new answer to a problem. A solar panel working out of the grid connection. A water pump powered by the sun. A cooking stove that produces less smoke. These are or were innovative ideas. What is an innovative business model? An innovative business model is the system that makes an innovative idea, so a new answer to a problem, reach the people who need it at a price that they can access in a way that is financially sustainable over time for the business owner. Remember all of these three. These are fundamental. Most entrepreneurs fall in love with their idea. They think it's the smartest thing. They're going to make a lot of money. It's going to happen tomorrow. And they get fired up. And that is understandable. Ideas are exciting. We all had exciting ideas. But the graveyard of development projects and social enterprises is full of excellent ideas that never became business model. That's where ideas die, when there is no business model to support them. Let me give you a simple illustration. The idea can be like affordable solar lighting for off-grid households in rural Kenya. This idea has existed since 1990s. Since 1990s, you can find papers, lessons, people trying to create companies around it. Everybody's been talking about it for a decade, for a century, almost. The technology was available. The need was obvious. Millions of households spending a huge amount of money on kerosene for lighting, breathing toxic fumes, children studying by candlelight, mothers getting sick. So for years, the idea went nowhere at scale. We had all of these elements, but there was no scale. Why? Because nobody solved the business model problem. Rural customers could not afford the upfront cost of a solar lantern. Kerosene was cheaper. There was no distribution infrastructure to reach them. There was no after-sales service when products broke. There was no way to verify quality. The idea was available to everyone. The business model was the hard part. Look at this slide now. 5 components of a business model. When you are evaluating whether an innovative idea has become an innovative business model, ask whether it has solved all, not one, not two, all of these 5 questions. Value proposition. What problem does it solve? For whom? Why is it better than the alternative? Meaning, why would I pay this and not your competitors? Or why would I pay this and not what is already existing? Delivery mechanism. How does the product or service physically reach the customer? Revenue model. How does money flow? From whom? At what price? On what terms? Cost structure. What does it cost to deliver and how does the cost change with scale? Trust and credibility. Why would a customer who has been let down before believe that this time is different? Remember, this was our void, the void of trust. Why would a community believe that this time this mini grid is gonna work? It's a fundamental question. It needs to be answered to prove that we have a viable business model. Remember, Dr. Shetty solved all 5. M-Pesa solved all 5. Most projects that fail have solved 1, 2, even 3, 4, 5. We need to reach 5. Your job as an entrepreneur is to solve all of this. Spend time, even if it seems like you're wasting your time. Spend time on these 5. Write it. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. Spend time. Don't rush. Don't rush on, oh, I had the most incredible, smartest idea. I'm gonna make a lot of money. Will you? Reply to these 5 questions, and let's see. Economies of scale. Let's go deeper on scale. Remember, very, very important. Scaling, not 200. Scaling the whole community, the whole country, neighboring countries. We go deeper on scale here because it is often discussed vaguely. This is what I noticed. And I want you to understand exactly what it means and where it comes from. So, economies of scale occur when the cost of producing or delivering one additional unit of something falls as a total volume increases. And these are 2 main mechanisms that you're seeing here. Spreading fixed costs and learning effects. Spreading fixed costs, imagine a mini grid, so we're back to mini grids, a developer of mini grids that spends 150K building the infrastructure to serve a village. The solar panels, the inverters, distribution lines, the control system, that 150K is a fixed cost. It exists whether you connect 50 households or 300. It's the same. If you connect 50 households, the infrastructure cost per household is 3K. If you connect 300 households, it is 500K. 500, sorry. 5K. The hardware and the grid didn't change. What changed is the number of customers sharing the fixed cost. This is why density matters in energy access. So a mini grid serving a dense market town with many anchor customers, a school, a health clinic, a mill, a cold storage facility, has completely different economics from one serving a scattered rural hamlet with only residential customers. So bear this in mind. Second, moving to learning effects. Practice makes precision. There is a well-established finding in business and psychology that I really like to, sometimes I like to think about. That is, the more times you do something, the faster and better you get at it. And this can be applied to anything, to surgeons, to students, to project developers, to customer service operations. The more you do the same thing, the better you become at it. A company that has installed 5 mini grids is still learning. A company that has installed 500 mini grids has refined every process: procurement, permitting, installation, community engagement, regulations. Their cost per project is lower, their quality is higher, and their failure rate for sure is smaller. And this is the learning curve, and it is a genuine competitive advantage. This is what I was telling you before. Keep trying and get better at it before dropping the idea. Try it. Fail. Try again, because you're going to be better if you try again. The strategic implication of all of this is that both these mechanisms mean that the first unit you produce or the first project you develop are always the most expensive and the least efficient. So don't bring yourself down. It's going to be expensive and you're not going to be very good at it. It's normal. This has a critical consequence for you and for how you think about your business. You must survive, remember this, long enough to reach scale. The last part of the slide. You will survive and you will reach scale. Keep doing it. Keep trying. Keep getting better at it. Okay. Now, given this last part of scale added to institutional voids, missing infrastructure, and all we said about entrepreneurship, now I wanna share with you two cases, both in East Africa, both about energy, and showing scale achieved through business model innovation, not only technological innovation. First case is Box, the solar home system as a financial product. This is how we could like sum it up. Box is a company founded in 2010, that today operates in Rwanda, Kenya, DRC, Togo, several other markets. On the surface, Box looks like a solar company. It sells solar homes, home systems, panels, batteries, lights, phone charging points. But if you think of Box as a solar company, you miss what it built, what these entrepreneurs built. Let's apply our 5 components framework as before. Value proposition, delivery mechanism, revenue model, cost structure, and trust and credibility. Take a few seconds to read this slide. I'm going to read it with you. Let's take value proposition. We have clean, reliable electricity for off-grid households, delivered without the upfront cost barrier that had blocked access for decades. Customers pay to Box a daily or weekly fee, comparable to what they were already spending on kerosene or phone charging. Perfect value proposition. Delivery mechanism. Box built a network of local agents and service centers, particularly dense in Rwanda. These agents are not just salespeople. They handle installation, maintenance, customer education, payment collection. So the distribution network is the business, is the same thing. They were very smart in this, as much as the hardware. Revenue model is pay as you go, enabled by mobile money, equivalents of M-Pesa, and a GSM chip in every unit. If you stop paying, the system disables remotely. Easy, simple, efficient. You don't have to go collect your money. You stop paying, it stops. Cost structure. Box cost per customer has fallen in a dramatic way as it has scaled. So now it has the procurement power to negotiate very competitive prices from hardware suppliers. Why? Its installation teams have done thousands of installations. What we said before, they've done it so many times that what seemed expensive became ridiculously cheap. But they got there. They were very well trained. They tried and tried and tried. And they managed to get the cost structure. Last one, important, trust and credibility. Box has invested heavily in after-sales services and warranty systems. Why? Because the market had been burned by cheap counterfeit products. Remember the trust. Why would I trust this if I've been scammed by all of the competitors before? When a system breaks, what happens with Box? A technician comes immediately. And when I hear my neighbor telling me that Box technicians came after not even a day that the system broke, I'm like, okay, I want to try this. It seems reliable. This is not standard in the industry. Be careful on that. This is a deliberate trust building investment. It means that The entrepreneurs of Box sat down, discussed about it, and said, guys, we need to prove our customers that we are there whenever they need us. And this was one of the biggest and most important things that they achieved, that they did. So Box built an incredible business. What they built was software platform, agent network, service infrastructure, financing mechanism. What did we say before? They built a platform to serve everyone and also to help their partners and their competitors. That was the business model, and this is why they were able to scale. A very important part that I really liked about this company is that Box in Rwanda, I don't know if in any other country, Box in Rwanda partnered with the Rwandan government and with the national energy regulator. This helped them a lot. First, with the credibility, but also giving them access to data where they could really understand fully the market. It was smart. I'm sure it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time for them to partner with the government. Imagine the bureaucracy, all the things that they had to sort out. Doesn't matter. They knew that they had to spend time and they had to struggle to get there. So that was really impressive. That was great. Great at the point that Box has connected over 350,000 people in Rwanda and more than 6 million in all the countries that they operate. This is amazing. Technology has barely changed. The business model keeps improving. They keep doing the same thing. They're better and better, and they are smarter, and they get more money. That's exactly what they're doing. Let me just check if we have time to do all of this. I'll try to go more quickly. But I want to tell you about Sun culture. So Sun culture is the second example that I wanted to bring you to this table, especially since we are talking about scale. And Sun culture shows us what happens, shows us when the customer, differently from the case before, is not a household, but a farmer. So we're talking about a different environment. We saw Box that served residential customers. Sun culture serves a completely different customer, smallholder farmers who need irrigation. This matters because it illustrates something very crucial about scale, which is that the same principles apply, but the business model must be redesigned for a completely different context. Sun Culture was founded in Kenya in 2012. Its core product is a solar-powered irrigation pump. Affordable, portable, designed for farms of 0.5 to 5 acres. The problem that Sun Culture addressed is Sub-Saharan Africa agriculture is over 90% rain-fed. What does it mean? That one failed rainy season can wipe out a family's income and food security. An irrigation pump changes that equation completely because it enables 2 or 3 growing cycles per year, regardless of rainfall. Again, idea that so many people in the past 50, 60, 80 years had. Technology, nothing new, it existed. Solar pumps, I don't think Sun Culture invented solar pumps. They were there many years before. So what did they do? They built the business model to make all of this accessible. The specific challenges they had to solve was, and you can see it in here, 3. First, the income pattern of farmers is lumpy and seasonal. A household customer might pay a small daily fee very easily. A farmer's income arrives in large amounts twice a year at harvest. Sun Culture had to design a payment structure that matched farmer cash flow. Otherwise, why would farmer pay them? They would be broke. Higher payments after harvest, very low or zero payments during planting season to give them the time to plant without having to pay. They were left alone. Second, the ROI story had to be proven before farmers would commit. So unlike the example we were seeing before, so the solar lamp, where the benefit is immediate, is obvious, an irrigation pump requires the farmer to change their farming practices. That was a huge issue for Sun Culture when they started. That's why a lot of people told them, it's too tough here. You're never gonna convince farmers to change their farming practices. It's incredible. But Sun Culture invested in demonstration farms and agronomic training, not because this was their core business. Like they were not like getting any money to educate people, but they invested in it because they knew that without education, without telling people, so the trust always comes back. The product would never sell if they didn't convince the people before. Third, financing the pump itself required a new kind of credit product. Sun Culture partnered with financial institutions to create agricultural asset financing, a product that did not exist at the right terms and scale before they needed it. Like Dr. Shetty, building microinsurance in India, Sun Culture had to become a financial service company in order to be an engineering company. The result was Sun Culture has now deployed tens of thousands of systems across Kenya and is expanding into Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Zambia. Farmers using their system are reporting income increase of 200 or 300% only in the first year. This is amazing. Remember, they failed, they struggled, they had to try again and again and again, but they were convinced that this would work and they succeeded. So what is the key lesson that we can take from Sun Culture? That they did not sell a product. Sun Culture redesigned the entire system around their customers, farmers. Their income pattern, the knowledge gaps, their financial constraints, their relationship with risk. This is what an innovative business model looks like. An innovative idea says solar pumps could help farmers. They believed in it and they did it. And they did it why? How? Because their innovative business model said that there was a specific system to make solar pumps actually reach farmers at scale. They made it when they reached the scale. And now they're scaling, they're expanding in any market, in more farmers. So that is success. I want to make a distinction that is sometimes easy to miss. Scaling and replicating. And I'm gonna leave you with this, but just be careful on these two, this fundamental distinction. Scaling means growing the same business model. More customers, more geography, same underlying logic. Replicating means taking a model that already worked in another context and rebuilding it, not copying it in a different context. We saw before Box scaled from Rwanda into DRC and Togo. Do you think he copied its Rwandan model? No, it can be. So what did he do? He rebuilt it. Rebuilt it for each context. Different regulatory environment. What I was telling you about my experience in Tanzania. Nigeria and Tanzania are completely different. I had to look at the regulatory environments to understand if that business model would work. Different languages, very important. Different customer behavior. Study the market. Get local people to help you if you want to scale there. Don't think that if your idea was smart in your small community or in your country, is going to be exactly the same, successful in the same way in the other. We are at the end of this session, and I am going to leave you with the, sorry, let me show you first. Let me go back to this slide. Okay. Take your time to read this scenario that I made up, and take also your time to reply to it. I know we are already at the end of our session, but I promise this is the last slide. I'm giving you a scenario. Spend a few minutes thinking, and then I'm gonna go to the next slide. So maybe take a screenshot of this or ask me if you want me to go back. Scenario. A young engineer in Kampala has developed a small biogas unit that converts household organic waste into cooking gas. The technology works well. A pilot with 30 households in a peri-urban neighborhood showed that families reduced their monthly cooking fuel costs by 60%. And the waste problem in that neighborhood improved significantly. This young engineer wants to scale this same idea across Kampala and eventually the whole Uganda. Question. The pilot reached 30 households. The engineer wants to go from 30 to 30,000 households. What do you guys think that she should prioritize first? I'm gonna move to the next slide. You can scan the QR code. This is the question. And if you need me, I can go back to the question, or I can also do something smarter, which is I'm gonna paste in the comment. Okay, I pasted in the comment, so you can also read it from our chat. Take your time. I think it's just a fun way to end this presentation. Very good, very good. Does someone wanna comment on the first run a marketing campaign? I'd like to know your your thoughts on that.
Okay, I may have a brief comment on that.
Please
Yes,
go ahead.
in the context of the Ugandan communities, and in that is in the light of biogas systems, we may be prioritizing majorly rural and then pre-urban settings. So in that light, you realize most of our people in rural communities don't have the really knowledge of how things operate if you're introducing a biogas system. So you have gotten to give them the right information about the product before you can now start selling it out and increase the customer base. So it is very critical. It's a very critical. I'm just speaking from a point of experience with the Ugandan community. So it is very critical to see that you prioritize educating the masses before you roll out the product. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's very interesting, and I
I
agree.
have also an idea.
Please.
My name is Dorosetta from Rwanda.
Hi, Rosel.
Hi, Benedetta. How are you?
All good. You?
I'm fine. So depending all along the startup business in Rwanda pathway, before starting any project, you have to get the permission from the government. So I emphasize on find a way partner with the government first, or prioritize to partner with the government to get an official support before running your project. And then after getting the permission, you have to run for a marketing campaign. This is my idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's interesting. I wonder if this happens in any business, or if you guys know of, or if you, Drosel, know of a business that wouldn't need government support. Do you think this in Rwanda would need to be for any business? Because, for example, in Italy, the answer would be yes. In Italy, you need to partner with the government because bureaucracy is super, super tough, super high, and for sure. But I don't know. I'm thinking, for example, of what we saw before, Box.
But this is not another business like others. This is like a project.
Yeah, that's true.
Which can also harm the environment. It's why before starting it, the environmental impact assessment must be conducted.
Yeah.
So it's not like any other business. This is like a project which can harm somehow environment. It's why it requires some procedures.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Thank you for your insight.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. I'm Emmanuel from Tanzania, and from my perspective, speaking of 30,000 households, in one household, we are approximately 4 to 5 people per household in Tanzania. That's a huge project to undertake. So I could partner with the government to get the official support. Then thereafter, they can help you run marketing campaign, and the rest will follow up, like customers to pay in installments. That's when you have already expanded, and the rest can follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I think this is a really interesting snapshot of our first module. And thank you so much also for giving your insights and for unmuting yourselves. It was really interesting. I don't know if any of you wants to add something. Obviously, use the chat. I'll read the questions. I don't know, Kat, if I can keep
Hello,
commenting
Benedetta.
after. Yes?
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Shukuru from Tanzania.
Hi, Shukuru.
I want to contribute on this part, the last part here.
Please.
For me, my opinion is based on because we are talking about scaling from 30 to 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
I believe because we have already proved that the system work from the 30 households. Now we want to scale. I believe you should have a team of trained technicians who are ready to install and maintain so that people may gain trust from what you are doing, because the issue of biogas is there since a long time. But I think trust and they believe that this thing can work is more important. So for me, my opinion is build a team of technicians very trained to be ready to install and maintain for such a great number of households that you want to scale up to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think they're obviously all very important points. And I would be really curious to see let's say, I don't know, one of your companies that you're going to open one day or that you might already have. If you have like limited time and limited resources, how you would do it, because that would be really interesting. And I completely agree that building a skilled team is gonna make a difference. And we saw it in the three practical cases that I showed you before. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Benedetta,
Mhm.
yes, I would like to share with you my short experience when I was the first time in Africa. It was in Cameroon many years ago. And I saw that all the cars there were Toyota.
Yeah.
And I asked why? Why you have only Toyota, no Fiat, for example, is an Italian brand. And okay, there was a market action, so Toyota moved a lot of cars in the country. But another problem was that no technician, no people were able to take care, to maintain a car different of Toyota one. So I don't know which is the priority in the list that you provide us, but I can support that to have technician ready for the installation, to provide information, and also to maintain the unit, it can be very important if you want to promote a technology in a country or in an area. This was my first experience in Africa.
Thank you. I've always noticed the Toyota. I never thought about that, of having people that had to know how to manage it. I really like this point of view. And also I think the interesting part is that there is no hierarchy between these four that you see. So that's why it's very interesting to see all of your insights, because if we had to build a company from scratch tomorrow, there is no fixed rule we had to follow. And that's the beauty of business. We have an idea, we see the void, we see the missing infrastructure, and then together we need to understand, okay, what should we do first? Should we train the technicians? Maybe yes. But at the same time, we partner with the government. Yes. And payments, super important. Running a marketing campaign, so advocacy, telling people, hey, this is important, educating them, still same important. So I think that's also what excites me about business, because there's no rule and you don't know what's gonna work. So you just have to try it. You just have to follow also your intuition, and if you really are convinced that your car brand could be a big competitor of Toyota by training the drivers and by training the technicians, just do it. See what happens. So I really like the Toyota example. Okay, let's close this first day with this last slide. So, 3 ideas to think about and bring home. First one, what we said. Scale is the point, not the bonus. In the context of energy access challenge in East Africa, for example, when we saw before around the mini grid, a solution that reaches hundreds of people is a pilot. A solution that reaches 1 million is a business. The gap between those two is not having more money, is a better business model. So remember always, you can scale even if you don't have money. Work on the business model. Try to squeeze and see where you can get more money from your business. Don't look for funds. Funds are fine, are nice to have. Work on your business model. That is the thing that will make you a businessman, a businesswoman. 2, the innovation that matters is the business model, not the idea. Lots of ideas. We said it before, lots of smart ideas. The system that delivers one idea reliably, affordably, sustainably to the people who need it is the system that is gonna win. 3, scales comes from solving all the 5 components we saw before. Value proposition, delivery mechanism, revenue model, cost structure, trust and credibility. Remember, you need to solve all the 5. Most projects don't and fail. The companies that scale solve all the 5. So keep improving each one. Keep going back, writing it better, and you'll find the key. A thought to carry into the rest of the week could be, think of a product or a service that fills a real need in your context and apply the 5-component framework to it. If you want, write it down, and we can also comment on it next time that we see each other on Wednesday. Think about this idea and ask yourself, where are the gaps? Where is the weak part of my idea? What am I missing? Did I solve all the 5? Keep thinking, keep thinking. And then a lot of other ideas will come, and it's gonna be also fun. Thank you everyone for being here, having been here until the end. And tomorrow my colleague Flavio from Hydrovat will take you inside the mechanisms of and mechanics of infrastructure and energy projects from his point of view and his business perspective. And I hope to see you on Wednesday, all of you and more, so we can move to sustainable models and the ambition of entrepreneurs. And we can also comment on what you thought. So please, if you have any thoughts during today and tomorrow, bring your thoughts with you on Wednesday so we can comment on them together. Thank you so much. I don't know, Kat, if you
Yes, thank
wanna
you. Thank you,
close.
Benedetta. Thank you, Benedetta. I don't know if it's a market and economic vision, but I'm sure that all of you appreciated very well and very much Benedetta presentation, looking at the number of comments in the chat. No? So if you have a lot of comments in the chat, not the one of Geoffrey concerning the size of Fiat cars, but the others. So it's clear that you really appreciated a lot the presentation. So thank you very much, Benedetta. See you tomorrow. You can use the same link, but in any case, tomorrow morning I will send you again the invitation. But if you will not receive the invitation, you can use the same link at the same time. As Benedetta mentioned before, we will have Flavio that works directly in a company that take care about the installation of the energy plants So hydro energy plants, and it's all. So thank you very much for attending this session, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you,
Benedetta.
everyone. Thank you. Enjoy your rest of
Thank
your
you very
day.
much.